Hey friends, we are back for the second episode in the Rest series. So welcome to episode 131. I'm Rebekah. Can I just start really quick by asking you guys if you share this podcast with anybody? I know I have like a pretty core group of consistent listeners, but if you're enjoying this show, share the YouTube link on any of your social media or send it to a friend. Or if you listen on, Spotify or Apple, you can send that link to a friend. You can write a review. I just would love it if you guys took some time to tell a friend about what we got going on here. And on that note, the monthly toolkit that I've created for you guys, which again is only $12.99, crazy good deal. Every month I'm putting in one PDF download that I'm calling just small group questions. So my vision for this, it was so exciting to me when I thought of it, was that you would have a small group of friends that you actually listen to this show with. If you've got like 4 or 5 friends or 6 or 7 or 12 who you think would like this content, they've got a biblical worldview, they love growth, they like learning, and you guys need like a solid excuse to get together once a month, just do this thing where you all say, we'll listen to the podcast, we'll get together once a month and talk about it. Only one of you even has to pay for the toolkit. And then you guys can discuss like what you're learning and how you want to apply what you're learning. Anyway, yeah, group questions are in the toolkit. Please share, just this stuff with people. It obviously benefits me a little bit, but really, I just want, in this world where there's like so much bad and empty information out there for women, there's so much self-help and personal development and general kind of spirituality stuff that's really making women more self-reliant, more anxious, more depressed, that's not pointing them. I mean, let's be honest, it's not taking care of their soul presently or for eternity. I know that what I do here is very tangible in real life and practical, but it's all under a biblical worldview and it's all rooted in like Christ our salvation. The blood of Jesus sets us free. Let's walk in spiritual freedom. So it's just like, what are we doing if we're not getting more and more and more of this messaging out there in the world? Okay, enough of that. So a little bit of a shorter episode today because the kickoff episode was kind of long and we're talking about rest. Now, in that episode, basically what I said, just introducing the topic of rest, was a couple things. First of all, that I'd had a very physical burnout kind of breakdown experience from overworking, which I know isn't the case for all of you. But really the heart of the episode was like, if we neglect rest, we will suffer. I mean, if we're too busy, our work will suffer, our health will suffer, our feeling of connection to ourself and God and others will suffer. So rest is important. But what do I really mean by rest? I just want to dig in this episode into two actually specifically really practical things. Both of these things are coming from a questionnaire that I put on my Instagram. And the two questions that stood out to me the most were, do you feel like you're being lazy when you rest? To which 82% of you said yes. 82% of you associate rest with laziness. Fascinating. That was a fascinating statistic to me. So we're going to look at that today. And then the other one that really stood out to me was, do you procrastinate or avoid tasks? 90% of you said yes. That also honestly blew my mind. Only 10% of you said no. 90% of us are procrastinating or avoiding tasks. Now, you might not understand right now how that's related to rest, but you will in the next 30 minutes because I'm going to explain it to you guys. So, okay, just a quick reminder that, there are so many root issues holding us back from living a life of rest and restoration and rhythm. Whatever your root issues are, they could be spiritual, they could be lies, they could be cultural, they could be family environment you were raised in, they could just be a season of life, they could be time management. I don't have the time in 4 podcast episodes to cover all of that. That's the kind of stuff I do in coaching. So I just have to say that because I so deeply want you guys to like experience change and get it. And if these podcast episodes are enough for you, that's great. For some of you that are like, I hear you, Rebekah, and I'm even trying some of these things and I just can't seem to do them. There's a real block in me changing my thoughts or my behavior or my life or my schedule. That's when you need to reach out to somebody, okay? So I'm not covering all that today. I'm not covering all the different root issues that could possibly be the cause of your lifestyle. I'm just giving you new ideas, healthy thinking, spiritual truth, all the things that could possibly be, and a lot of times are enough to click us into a new direction, move us into change, okay? And like I said, the 2 things I want to focus on today are really the fact that we're not being lazy when we're resting. Or are you? Let's examine that. And why are so many people procrastinating and avoiding tasks? So a lot of the other questions that were on my Instagram story were also very, very interesting to me, but these were the ones that were kind of the most like, okay, I've got to cover those. So yeah, I mean, I want to paint a picture for you guys, probably of your life. Because I've worked with a lot of women, I know. Again, in last episode, I really painted a picture of a physical kind of breakdown from being busy or overcommitted or whatever. But for a lot of you guys, that's not your day-to-day. What I hear from a lot of people, a lot of my clients, is something a lot more like, I just have a lifestyle of saying yes to things at the last minute. I just have a lifestyle of feeling like all these external things are dictating my schedule. Even if you have kids or, young kids, or maybe if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're single, doesn't really matter. And none of those things are an excuse, by the way. It's much more of a mindset and a worldview and a way of living that I'm describing right now. It's a way of living that says I'm not really in control of my life. All these external factors are. I always give in to interruptions when people call. I always say yes to new things that my boss or my kids or my husband ask me to do. Even if I've made plans maybe to be at home alone that night and my best friend calls and says, hey, do you want to hang out? And part of me doesn't want to hang out. I still do it anyway because I don't want to make her feel bad or I don't want to miss out. This lifestyle is one of always planning stuff last minute, not really having a forward thinking, future oriented mind. You live your life day by day and you live your life moment by moment. And whatever the most urgent thing is, or that comes up, is what you respond to. Am I describing any of your lives? Now, let me give a different spin on that. For some of you who don't have as much meaningful things going on in your life, and I don't mean that to hurt your feelings. I mean, when I was single for a lot of years, I felt like because I'm not married and because I don't have kids, my life isn't full of really important things. And I had to work through that. I had to make sure that what I didn't do was create busyness and drama in my life just to make me feel good about the emptiness in my life. So you might be somebody who's like, maybe you're even an empty nester or somebody who technically probably does have time on your hands. But quietness or rest or alone time makes you very uncomfortable. So if we're super honest, you avoid quietness or rest or alone time because it really makes you confront some emotional or spiritual or factual things about your life that you're uncomfortable with. Also not a way to live, okay? I mean, it's when we confront those things that we can make a choice about them, that we can change them. So when we're living that way, where life is pulling us. We're missing out, making sure that we're living our own life, first of all. I mean, like, do you even know what you want? Are you being intentional about what you want? Do you know what God has asked you to do or what God wants from you? Or are you literally just letting the busyness and the schedules or the work or all the external things define you and your day to day? One of the most common regrets that people have when they get older, I've read many articles about this kind of stuff, and I know I'm not going to say it exactly right, but is that people feel like they've lived somebody else's life. They wish they would have had the courage to live their own life, slow down, not be a yes person, not work so hard. Like, this is one of the most common issues, regrets that people have when they die. I can tell you right now, I'm not going to have that regret. I mean, if the Lord took me home early in life, I could honestly right now say I lived a life of that I was supposed to live. And the reason that I can say that is because of things like space and quietness and reflection and rest and alone time and time with the Lord and time to heal and time to be intentional about my life. So again, I know some of you listening already have this skill down, but most of us don't. I mean, according to my little survey, like 90% of us don't have this down, have this mastered. I think if I just talk about the laziness thing and the procrastination thing, it's going to be real brain shift, real powerful for a lot of you today. So let me start with the procrastination topic. What is it really? What is it really? I wonder if you guys have ever actually thought about that. I'm sure that many of you have tried to change it. I'm sure that many of you have tried to make the lists and be more organized and just muster up more discipline, or you've just accepted it. I'm just a procrastinator. I'm just a last minute person. Let me give you guys probably a bit of a mind-blowing truth here. Procrastination is really an emotional regulation problem. Okay? It's really more about being focused on an immediate need to manage our emptiness, our tiredness, or our negative mood, like being able to get a task done. If it's 8 o'clock at night and you have to get a task done for work the next day, but you happen to have kids and you went to work that day, you picked up the kids from work, you cooked dinner, you talked to your husband about the day, you helped put the kids to bed, whatever. And then you should be working on that project for work. And maybe it's been that way for the last couple weeks. You're like, I've known I have this project due for 2 weeks. But every single night when it gets to 8 o'clock and I finally have some alone time, I don't ever do it. Why don't I do it, Rebekah? Why do I scroll my phone for an hour? I get these types of phone calls a lot as a coach. Why? What's wrong with me? Things wrong with you. You're procrastinating because something inside of you knows the deeper need that you have is to regulate your system. The deeper need you have is calm, peace, quietness. I need to restore myself. I need to rest. I need to get ready for tomorrow. Because you have already expelled all that you have to give that day. Because, by the way, yes, we do have limitations. Okay? You have already used all the brain power you have for that day. You have already used all the spiritual bandwidth you have for that day. There's nothing wrong with you when you get to the point in the day or the evening where your cup is empty. Many of you think that's a problem. Now, there are things that can be done. And this is kind of the mastery of what I do as a coach, or what really good coaches and counselors do, is that I can help you determine, like, is there a way to expand your cup? Or maybe there's a bunch of holes in your cup. Or maybe your cup is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it, but you have this totally unrealistic expectation that your cup should be able to be poured out of and never filled into at all day, every day, all the time. And now you're judging yourself as a woman because you actually have limitations and you can't do it. Right? I mean, that's like a complex thing to figure out. I can help you figure that out, but a lot of you can answer that question for yourself as well right now. Do you even believe that we have limitations? Do you even believe or even know what it feels like to be pouring from a full cup? Do you know what it feels like to be pouring from a full cup? Do you know what it feels like when your cup is empty? Do you believe as a human being, even if you're super mentally tough, even if you've got the power of the Holy Spirit, you are a body, your body is decaying, okay? Your brain, your soul can be the toughest, most trusting, like wonderfully healthy on this side of eternity, and yet you are still a human, which means you're in a body right now that's not made perfect, and that will, because by the way, your brain is part of your body, run out of steam. And you have to accept that. So, getting back to this topic of procrastination, most procrastination is actually just a deep, deep, deep need in you that is swamping, it's crying out for attention. It's the need for rest. It's the need to give your brain a break, right? Like it's even very often the need to attend to some negative emotions that you probably haven't been paying attention to for days, weeks, months, or years. So, which is also something that rest allows you to do, process your emotions, right? So again, let me paint another picture for you. You could be a single woman who's working at a school and volunteering at your church and meeting a new guy, going on some dates. And you really want to clean your house. You want to have a clean house, but for some reason you always procrastinate on cleaning the house. And you hate this about yourself and you want a clean house, but you're always like your apartment is pit and you're kind of embarrassed by it. But every night when you get home, you don't clean. This is either because you're physically exhausted from the day. You know, maybe you're the girl who's like, I ran before, I got up early and I ran before work and I did all the things and I walked with my friends and I'm like all about all the health stuff, right? And so I should be able to work kind of from morning, noon to night. If you're physically exhausted and you have nothing left to give, you're not going to clean your house. You're going to sit on the couch and watch TV. Okay. The only other usually reality about procrastination is that people will avoid tasks that they don't think they have that they just don't. You either actually don't have the bandwidth to deal with whatever that task is, and so your kind of survival needs trump what you think you should be doing, and you end up sitting around. Or you think you don't have the capacity to do the thing. So you either actually don't, your cup is empty, okay? That's why you're not doing the thing. Surprise, surprise, you have limitations. Or you subconsciously think you have to avoid the thing. Like you procrastinate journaling because you think you don't have the capacity to deal with difficult emotions. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You have the emotional capacity. Well, I mean, again, depending on your life, I would really need to do like a life audit of you to be able to speak some of these like hardcore black and white statements over your life. A lot of people avoid things that they've just kind of been taught are too hard to do. I can't work out. I can't, get up on stage and speak. I can't process my emotions. Yes, some of these things you can do. You're literally avoiding them because you think they're too hard and they're not. But most of you are falling into procrastination because what you don't realize is that you're empty and you're super overcommitted and you can't do all the things that you have on your calendar. And I want you to imagine for a second that you cut out like half of what you're doing half of the things that you're committed to. I know that this suggestion is just went in one ear and out the other for a lot of you, because you're like, that's not realistic suggestion, Rebekah. There's nothing I can cut out of my life. To that, I'm going to say, yes, there is. Okay. You need to challenge that thought. If you want to change. Some of you don't want to change. That's cool. You don't need to listen to the rest of this series. I'm a little feisty today, y'all. Probably because I'm sitting here drinking my coffee. I've got too much caffeine flowing through my blood. But if you want to change, and again, we're changing not to do nothing and not to be unproductive in our lives. We're changing so that we're more productive, more plugged in, more able to connect with God, that we have more peace, that our life is more aligned, that we're more present, that we know who in the world we are, what in the world we're doing, why we're doing it. Basically, that we're in charge of our own life, not in a I'm God way, but in the amount of freedom and free will that He's given us. Don't you want to be in charge of your own life? That's what we're working towards. That's what we're working towards, okay? And if you want to change, for so many of you, the super simple answer is that you're overcommitted and you need to cut out half of the things you're doing, okay? And if you do cut out half of the things that you're doing or half of the things that you're committed to, you will have more in your cup every day to get those things done. And surprise, surprise, you will clean the house and you will work on the project in advance. And you won't procrastinate because you'll be meeting the needs of rest already. You'll be giving yourself the time and space, and your self won't have to demand it from you at the least convenient times, right? Because your body, your soul, your mind will get their rest. They'll get their, I need to numb out, I need to breathe, I need some space, whether you give it to them or not. And if you don't give it to yourself intentionally, it's going to demand it at the most inconvenient times, and it will demand it in ways like procrastination. Okay? So, on that same line of thinking, what's the difference between laziness and rest? What's the difference between laziness and rest? Okay. First of all, let's talk about the intent. Okay? So, the intent of rest is actually, like I said, it's intentional, it's purposeful. I'm doing this on purpose to rejuvenate my mind or my body or my spirit, because I can sense when I'm actually empty, and I've accepted with humility that I have limitations. Okay? Two really important things I just said there. Can you sense when you're empty? Have you accepted that you have limitations? Have you? Can you? All kinds of stuff in the toolkit for this. Okay, so please just click on the link in the show notes and you'll be able to see, like on the little sales page, all the PDF downloads that are available in the toolkit. If they're not helpful to you, don't buy them. But you'll be able to see listed what are the 10 to 15 PDF downloads that are available for you to work through on your own time. That's what the toolkit is. Okay, it's a series of PDF downloads. Okay, so the purpose of rest is intentional. It's with the aim of rejuvenating body, mind, and spirit. The intent of rest is to recover energy, improve our well-being, and enhance our productivity in the long run. This could be something like taking a 30-minute nap, taking a Sabbath, anything to boost alertness and cognitive function, or setting aside time for a walk to relax and unwind in the middle of a busy day of working from home. Laziness, the purpose of laziness, or really kind of the intent, is really just an unwillingness to act. It's often due to a lack of motivation or effort. It's not about recovery, it's more about the avoiding without a constructive reason. This could be procrastinating on important tasks. So these two are this really almost two sides of the same coin. If you're procrastinating, you will feel lazy, because the act of procrastination, which could be an hour or two or a whole day or something like that, depending on kind of how tired you are or how much you've been functioning way beyond your limitations, how overcommitted you are. Okay, so then you get into the like, my body, my mind, my soul is really rejecting and avoiding all of that because it needs rest. The problem there is you're not intentionally choosing the rest. The rest feels to you, that time feels to you like an unwillingness to act. It feels like you're avoiding tasks. You need that time. You need that rest time. Rest is really just choosing it before it chooses you. And then there's also major different outcomes. You might say, okay, so then I'll just wait for my procrastination to kick in and I'll embrace my procrastination and I'll be like, I guess this is just my mind, soul, body needing rest. That's what Rebekah said. So I'm just going to like rest now. So the outcomes of rest usually lead to improved physical health and mental clarity and emotional balance and connection with yourself and connection with God, especially depending on what you're doing during that rest time. But laziness, the outcomes are often, because it comes at the most inconvenient times, unfinished tasks, missed opportunities, increased stress, and a sense of dissatisfaction. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying here? So those of us who have embraced the fact that we need rest and we need margin, we don't usually get hit with those moments of procrastination that cause us to miss opportunities because we've planned in the rest. We've planned in the filling of our cup, and therefore we don't have increased stress because last minute things aren't getting done. We don't have unfinished tasks. You see the difference here? Intentional rest, good results. Laziness as a result of procrastination, bad results. The emotional and mental state, also rest is usually accompanied like while you're doing it, okay, with a sense of relaxation. There's usually self-compassion, there's usually grace, there's usually humility on a spiritual level. But laziness, because you're not choosing it, it's choosing you, is usually more accompanied with feelings of like guilt or frustration or anxiety. A lot of negative emotions swirl around. Why? Why do this to yourself? The short answer for most of us, you guys, is you aren't willing to, clear out your schedule. And you have to ask yourself why. It's like I said at the beginning of this episode, there's a lot of different potential root reasons. And if you take some quiet time and dig a little, pray about it, think about it, you'll probably find your root reason. Why am I unwilling to build in margin in my week? Why am I unwilling to step down from some of these things at church? Why am I unwilling to take my kid out of the third sport they're in? Why am I unwilling to maybe even say no to this vacation that my friends invited me on? Because when I look at my schedule, I realize it's bad timing and I would be really stressed if I tried to do that and this and this and this. Why are you unwilling to be alone or silent? It breaks my heart a little that so many of you guys think rest is being lazy. But I think based on this connection that we're making here with procrastination, you don't really think rest is lazy. You think procrastination is being lazy. Right? You hear what I'm saying? You think procrastination is being lazy, and it's not really. It's an emotional regulation problem, meaning the immediacy of your need for rest or the immediacy of some negative thoughts or feelings that have been building up trump your ability to get that task done. So again, like, what's it going to take to realize this is human nature? And what good does it do to fight it? Like, what's it going to take for you to work with instead of against your humanness and your limitations and your body that does run out of energy and your mind that does run out of brain power? Like, there is nothing admirable. There's no badge of honor for those of you that say you want to function outside of the reality that you are a soul trapped in a body. In fact, it's much smarter. Okay? It's much more strategic. It's much more effective to say, this is what it is. Okay? How do I work with it? How do we work within the boundaries and the limitations of the fact that we aren't God, and be strategic and thoughtful and purposeful? So just really, I hope this was helpful, distinguishing the difference between rest and laziness, and also just giving a good look at why most people procrastinate. Again, if you want to make changes in your life, you can, and you will. Some of you will keep living this way. I would deeply challenge you not to, and I would deeply challenge you to think about why you think it's worth it to keep living that way. And I would also deeply challenge you to imagine your life, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now, or the end of your life. Is this the way you want to live? Is this the way you want to live? And let me wrap up by saying two quick things. First of all, the next episode is going to be about spiritual rest, okay? Entering God's rest, which is a phrase used in the Bible. And what does it mean that Christ's yoke is easy and light? That'll be episode 3. And I'm really excited about it. Episode 4, I'm going to tell you guys what I do. I'm going to give you guys, these are my core foundational beliefs about what my own limitations, what does work, what doesn't work, and the rhythms that I've built into my life so that I don't burn out, so that I can love people well and show up for my life well and do ministry well, not procrastinate, not fly off the handle at people, and do things that I enjoy. Reminder here as I close, I'm not suggesting that we live boring, quiet lives. This is quite the opposite, you guys. This is quite the opposite. I'm suggesting that we live lives that are full. So full. But full is different than busy. Okay? Full is different than busy. We don't want to just be busy. We want our lives to be full. We want our spirits to be full. We ourselves want to feel full. So yeah, someday when I die, I want to be like, I lived a big life. I feel like I already have, to be honest, but I want to have lived a big life. And I know you guys do too. I know you guys want to make the most, life feels short. That's why some people say, you can sleep when you're dead. Okay. But if we're not taking the time for restoration and reorientation and recovery, connection, you won't be living a full life. You will be living a busy life. You will be living a distracted life. And it really only takes a few deep mental, spiritual shifts to make this stuff happen. I hope this is clicking for you. I hope the first and second episodes have really inspired you guys to look at your life and think deeply about your schedule and how busy you are, and why rest is not laziness when it's chosen, and why procrastination feels like laziness. Rest is so productive. Rest is so productive. Are you starting to see that? I hope you're starting to see that. Okay, see you guys next Monday.